Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 80 of the After the Scales podcast. I'm Sean Blight, along with Jacob Dove, and it's a big day here north of the border. Big day, 32 years in the making. I was 8 years old the last time my beloved Blue Jays made it to the World Series, and here we are. Man, people are fired up around here. I tried to get tickets today. They are a little out of my price range, so I guess I'll have to settle with drinking at the bar, but we're going to talk some racing today, but I had to just gloat a little bit.
Yeah, first time I'm actually going to be rooting for a team not in America. So congrats to you guys, and hopefully you beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, to be honest. The Dodgers are so stacked. I hate to say happy to be here because it sounds like a loser's attitude, but when you spend $1.5 billion just on your starting rotation, it's pretty hard to compete with that. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. Give it the old college try, see how we do. But man, it is cool just to make it this far when it's been that long. So, anyways, we're going to talk some racing. We've got Matt Caprara coming on today. Big block modified and 358 modified driver. He's coming off of Super Dirt Week and a couple of races at Brockville where I got to actually meet him. So he was parked next to our buddy Felix Waugh. So had a little chat with Matt. Said he wanted to come on. So we're going to talk some big block modifieds later on today.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And obviously, Super Dirt Week was real good racing. I know it was weird. I thought you were going to be there, but you said it was too cold for you, and that's coming from a Canadian. So you end up going to Brockville to watch. So obviously that was good. And even at Talladega this weekend for the NASCAR races, I was talking to some Stort Friesen fans who are big block modified people from New York. So there's big block modified fans everywhere. So we're going to be talking to Matt today and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we weren't on last week, but there's been a lot of news in the racing community, as there always is this time of year. Most recently, I guess, with the announcement of Spencer Bayston going to the NOSCAR for Ricky Stenhouse Racing. They're going to stay on the World of Outlaws tour. And then on the other side, with High Limit, Brad Sweet announcing his retirement. Not one of my all-time favorite drivers, as a lot of people know. But man, I and everyone respects how great of a driver he is and was, and six straight championships. The guy has won everything there is to win. So hats off to him. Congratulations to Brad. And looking forward to seeing what he does with High Limit and Silver Dollar Speedway and everything else he's got going on.
Yeah, definitely a lot of news. I feel like we could do a whole episode right now of just talking silly season because it seems like the season ends and everybody's putting out statements and everybody's getting ready for next year already. And that was big news. I did hear about that. I know you, Sean, too, heard about it too. And I don't know. It just I thought Brad was gonna finish out the year and try to win the championship and then go out, on top of his game. I mean, he still is competitive to this day. He finished, second in points and all that. So it was a surprise, but not a surprise. He's definitely at the end of his career, and I feel like him buying NARC with Kevin Radine and how he's got going on with his family and running High Limit as well with Kyle Larson. It just seemed like the right time for him just to make the move and. Now we have to wait and see who gets his seat moving forward in High Limit. So it should be enticing to see what announcement they make with Casey Kane Racing. And on the other end, Spencer Bayston, I did hear about that too. And I know we've been kind of going back and forth on who we thought should have been in that car. And yeah, it's going to be, definitely interesting. Spencer Bayston's been in a couple different rides here these past couple years. So looking forward to seeing how he does. I mean, Spencer's a great guy. I know we've done an interview with him before and at Charlotte World Finals actually coming up here. And, I hope he does well. I hope Ricky Stenhouse made a right decision and the Marshals are happy with what they got going on over with the Outlaws.
Yeah, and then late model news. You guys were pretty dialed it in. You and Bert have been keeping up with that. So why don't you fill us in on what's been going on over there?
Yeah, like I said, we could make a whole episode about what's going on because like Lucas just finished up. Obviously, congrats to our guy Devin Moran,
Yeah.
friend of the show. We had him on one of our earlier episodes, and we started after the scales. And he's a great guy. We've always, talked to Devin in the pits anytime we were at the track, and he always gives his time. And he's a great guy, and he's a fan favorite. So congrats to him. Obviously, RTJ was the favorite going into this year. He was looking for back-to-back championships. Looked like he was going to be that way this year statistically. Had a lot of wins, but it's just the points now. Lucas has the top 4 points, a 5 race playoff, and Devin just came into his own at the end of the season here, and he got it done. So hats off to him. I know RTJ. He was probably disappointed, but there's always next year. And Davenport, who knows where he's going to do? I know there's a lot of rumblings about him now. If he's going to retire like Davenport, or I mean, like Brad Sweet did. So, yeah, who knows? Another 49 could be out of dirt racing here in the future. Who knows? But yeah, Dalton Wilson announced he's parting ways officially with the JRR team. That did not come as a surprise. I knew a while ago that Josh Rice was going to be replacing him. So, congrats to Josh Rice. We both saw him win at Eldora for the, and that was pretty cool. So, a lot more silly season stuff coming up. Just stay tuned to social media because there's going to be a lot more announcements. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of movers and shakers here.
Yeah, and switching gears, we are going to be talking big block modifieds today. So one thing I did want to point out, Money Matt earning his nickname, 8 straight, if you can believe this, 8 straight feature wins for Matt Williamson between 358 modifieds, big block modifieds. Um, I mean, the guy is just, he swept Super Dirt Week at Oswego. He swept Brockville. The guy is just on another planet right now. Heading into Charlotte World Finals. He's actually got one more points race before that. And I think he's got, and out of the numbers right in front of me here, I think he's got about a 97-point lead heading into Georgetown next weekend before World Finals. So you were there last year. We remember Matt Shepard had a very slim points lead going into World Finals, and Matt was able to overtake him. He's pretty much got it locked in right now. And we actually we were having dinner in Brockville at a restaurant after the races, and Matt and his crew were there, and Matt was kind enough. He came over and we were just chatting about his year and just how great it's been for him. He's got a new baby. He's got a ton of wins coming in. So another friend of the show, Matt Williamson, we want to congratulate him and get Matt's thoughts maybe on what it's like going up against a guy like who's just so dialed in this year.
Yeah, I feel like everybody in the big blocks might as well be Matt, right? Anybody that's good, name's Matt. So yeah, definitely excited to see. I know we're kind of on the fence about the World Finals right now. I know you've been trying to work with some drivers on getting there. I won't say too many details, but either way, we had a great time last year, and looking forward. If we don't go, in person, we'll be definitely watching on Dirt Vision.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go. I'm leaning towards yes, but yeah, we'll make an announcement if I'm able to lock down my plans. But anyway, we've got Matt Caprara standing by, and we're going to talk to him right after this.
After the Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Sean and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.
All right, and we are back with Dirt Modified driver Matt Caprara. Matt, how's it going, man?
Oh, not too bad. It's crazy. Time flies. It feels like, the season just started and now it's gone. We only got a few races left, but it's going good.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing the other day, man. I'm driving home from Brockville and I'm like, the next event on my calendar is Charlotte. And
Yeah.
it's like, man, that's the end of the year. Like it's gone. So you were just at Brockville. That's how I met you. I was hanging out with
Yeah.
my buddy Felix Waugh and wanted to introduce myself. So talk to
Yeah.
us about your weekend at Brockville.
Yeah, with our big block, we fired off pretty good. I think we timed like six in our group, so started us third in our heat race, and we seem to have a pretty good car. We're just a touch snug, and we just made the wrong adjustments, and that happens. And when you're going against the best of the best, and you make the wrong adjustment, you're really screwed. So yeah, we kind of just fell off at the end there, and it was no good. Going to a place like Brockville where you only go maybe, once or twice a year, it's tough to compete with these guys. So, not a good weekend for us, but you're going to have those and we get it and we kind of just move on to the next.
Yeah, looking at your 2025 racing season as a whole, according to my race pass and 46 features, you had 2 wins, 7 top 5s, and 17 top 10s. Just talk about how satisfied you are and as a whole, and between the big blocks and the 358s, you do a lot of racing throughout the year. So, and how excited you are going into Charlotte.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely excited. The season, we race at probably two of the hardest tracks, that you can. Brewerton on Fridays is like a Super Dirt Car Series race. You get 35 of, the best guys around the central New York region. And then, Fulton with the small block, we get 40 cars and, they send 10 to 12 home, a week. So, even getting a win there is huge, but we're always looking to go forward and see if we can get more. So, on the whole of the season, we're proud of what we did. It's only our third year doing this, so we feel like we've come a long way from last year and then now this year. But definitely excited to see the future. We got a bunch of things in progress. Trying to work on every program. Trying to get our setups dialed into our tires, and all of it plays a big role. So going into Charlotte, we're thinking positive, and hopefully we see the results that we deserve.
All right, so I want to talk more about your season this year, but first, maybe for those who aren't overly familiar with who you are or your family, like your name is
Yeah.
pretty synonymous in Central New York with racing and sponsorships and that kind of thing. So maybe talk about your background, your family's background in racing, and then how you got involved.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously my dad started a car business in the central New York and northern New York regions. And that's been over 50 years in the business, and, it started off with my brother Frankie racing and then, my dad owning Can-Am and at one point Brockville. And then my brother Taylor raced. And growing up I was always into sports. I never raced. My mom wanted me to stay in sports. I was a three-sport athlete, so racing wasn't on my schedule. And when COVID hit, you couldn't play sports, so the only thing to do was go to the races. So and as you all know, it's a drug, and I got hooked immediately. So yeah, we do so much in the racing community that it was almost meant to be. So obviously, my 9 to 5 is selling cars, and if we don't sell cars, we don't race. So that's the bottom line. So that's the first priority, and then we get to go have fun on the weekends as well. So.
Yeah, you mentioned about fun. I know Sean told me that you even dabbled in some dirt bikes and even some cars tour racing, something different than modifieds. Talk about that. Obviously, dirt
Yeah.
bikes are 2 wheels, not four. But a lot of people that are into dirt racing also like motocross and supercross and all that. Just wondering about your involvement with that.
Right. Yeah. So we sponsor a few people with the dirt bikes as well because, we just think, all in all racing is good. And for us, it all comes back. I'd say probably 80% of the Northeast racing community, buys vehicles from us. And all in all, it's just a great family that supports us, and we support as much as we can. And it's great. And then obviously with the asphalt stuff, I started in asphalt modifieds at Evans Mills, and I got an opportunity to run in the car store down south, and that's great as well. My dad's always told me, anytime you can get in a seat in anything, it's really good for you. So, I've kind of ventured all over the map, and all in all, I think it's been a good thing for me. And now I'm starting to settle down with the modified stuff and focusing on one thing, and I think that's good as well. So.
Yeah, is dirt where you want to be, Matt, or you just kind of go where the opportunities come up, or you say you kind of have a home where you're at now?
So I love the dirt stuff. If an opportunity arises, I've had some opportunities with super modifieds. I drove for Mike Muldoon,
Oh, cool.
and I've done it, but I just seem to always come back to the dirt racing world. So that's definitely where I think I want to be, and it's harder for sure for me at least. And I want to eventually get to that point where I'm consistently competing with the Matt Shepards, Matt Williamsons, all these guys that are up front every week. I want to compete with those guys, and eventually, hopefully, beat them. So.
Yeah, and you got guys who were very successful and still successful today, like Stuart Friesen, for
Yeah,
example, who made it through the modifieds, made it to NASCAR. He has his
yeah,
NASCAR team, but unfortunately, earlier on this year, he had that scary wreck that put him out of contention. And I know for me personally, that was the worst modified wreck I've ever seen. I know Sean
yeah.
said the same thing.
Yeah.
When you saw that wreck, what went through your mind as a fellow competitor to
Yeah.
Friesen? As a modified driver, did that question your safety or any fear that put into your mind that, hey, that could have been me, or do
Right.
you block that out when you're behind the wheel?
First off, I think dirt modifieds are probably one of the safest dirt cars, I would say, compared to, late model sprint cars. I think, Bicknell, Troy, or Tio, they do a great job of keeping us safe. I think, unfortunately, that was just a freak accident. And, seeing that, and him being a friend of ours and he buys all his vehicles from us. And it was definitely sad to see. But, talking to him, he's in good spirits. And, we're praying for him to get back, and I guarantee when he gets back, he's going to dominate because, he's just dedicated and, he's a very smart guy, even talking to him. And, we hope for, him to come back and be good. So, but, my perspective, yeah, it's definitely scary. But, when you strap on that helmet, maybe before you go out on the racetrack, you might be, a little nervous. But once that car fires up and you're on the racetrack, everything seems to just zone out for, at least for me. So, try not to think about that in the moment and just try and go forward as much as possible. So
Yeah, so you were talking about Stuart Friesen coming back and dominating, and during our intro, speaking of dominating, we were talking about the season Matt Williamson's been having. I was chatting with him a little bit at Brockville. The guy's won 8 straight feature races.
mhm.
It seems like every time or every year that the modifieds fire off in Florida, you're looking at the Matt and Matt show.
Yeah,
There are some good young up and coming drivers, quite a few of them in the modified ranks.
yeah,
How does a young guy like you aspire to get to that level? Like, how do you won, I think, maybe one race last year. You won a couple
yeah,
this year, so you're definitely making progress. How do you get to
yep.
that next step?
Yeah, I think it's dedication. These guys that are doing good. If you see, Matt Williamson, Matt Shepard, Stuart Friesen, the top three guys, they all race for a living. So it's a little tough when you have the business to run. But luckily, I got two guys that are with us full time, and they work their butts off. And I think it's just dedication and preparation in the shop. That's everything. So. I think these guys like, Alex Payne and Alex Yankowski, two guys that are young that, are competing and, with beating Williamson and Shepard and these guys is, you know, I think they're just dedicated and I think they put the time in and the work in and, my dad's the same way. He put the time and work into our dealerships and he succeeded. So and he's taught all of our kids, if you put in the time and work, it'll come. So it hasn't came to us yet, but I'm not a quitter, and we're gonna get there for sure. So we're definitely excited for the future, and we're just gonna keep working at it.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of what you mentioned there, obviously about dedication. I mean, you're a young guy,
Yeah.
and you're trying to get as much seat time and experience as possible. So, how do you balance that between obviously the family dealership stuff and
Mhm.
obviously you have to have a life outside of racing. So, how do you kind of all balance it while being a young racer as yourself?
Yeah, it's tough, but you got to have goals, and you got to be able to, you know, uh, use your time as much as you can. So, obviously I work there and my parents and my brothers are pretty easy and letting me off on the weekends to go racing. So, I'm using that up as much as I can now because, when I'm 40, I probably won't be able to get that opportunity. But, so luckily to have, such a great family behind me that, they allow me to do what I'm doing now. And, just, you got to race to be good. That's just bottom line nowadays. Matt Williamson didn't get good from racing 20 times a year. He races every race he can, and that's why he's that good. Um, and just having good people in your corner. Like I said, I have a great family in my corner, and I'm blessed to have what I have, and just keep plugging away as much as we can. So
When you look back at the year that you've had, and sucks, there's only 3 races left, I guess, for the big
yeah.
blocks after Georgetown and Eastern States. But when you look back at your season, what's the kind of one moment that sticks out for you as your proudest moment of the year?
It's probably getting our first big block win. That was huge for us. Us being our third year in, or I should say our second year in big blocks, third year in 358s. It was huge to get. Especially at Brewerton. That place is so tough and it's so hard to get control of. So we had a few solid runs there, and to get that win was definitely an accomplishment. But now I got the taste of blood. So now it's like full go. So we need some more, and we're gonna get some more, and it's just kind of plugging away from there.
Yeah, I know the racing season's winding down, but me and Sean were just talking about all these other race teams already getting ready for 2026. It seems
Yeah.
like just around the corner. There's no really racing off season anymore. So, what are some goals that you might have for yourself looking forward to next year, and any things that you have on your list that you want to check off?
Yeah, for sure. Being more prepared and just, getting to every racetrack we can. That is the biggest thing. If you ask anyone, in the racing world, I talked to Randy Williamson, I talked to Scott Jeffrey, all these guys that have had so many good accomplishments. And the biggest thing is you got to race as much as you can. So that's my biggest goal in 2026. And we're going to try that. We're going to run both series. So we're going to run the big block super Dare car series and then also the 358 series, and just competing with these guys as much as you can. You ask Tim Sears Jr., I see him every week at Brewerton and Fulton, and I said, Tim, what got you so much better at these two racetracks? And he's just the super Dare car series. So I think that's what we got to do to get to that next step, and we're prepared to do whatever we need to do to get to that next step.
All right, so one more from me.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to Charlotte, it's such a cool event, man.
Yeah.
It's especially for us up here in the Northeast. Um, the sprint cars come up here a little bit. I mean, we never get to see the late models. You pretty much have to travel
Right.
6 hours or whatever to see them. Just which, aside from racing at the track, what do you most look forward to, or what do you most enjoy being down at World Finals?
Just the atmosphere. You don't get that anywhere else. To see the three series is collide, and like even last year, I was watching in the stands one night, and I was talking to these guys, and they didn't even know what a dirt modified was. They knew who Brett Hearn was, but they didn't know what a dirt modified was. So, it was pretty cool to just kind of talk to them about it, and get them. I think we grew another fan from just
Mhm.
talking to them for 20-30 minutes, and I think it's just so cool to get all the series collided and together, and just to get to I get to see people like I met Michael Waltrip at Stuart Friesen's golf tournament, and now I'm best friends with him. I shouldn't say best friends, but we're good friends.
Yeah, yeah.
He sent me a photo in our FX Caprara hat the other day, just so it's cool to go down there and talk to him, and meet people that you never see on the regular basis, at a Brewerton Speedway. So it's cool to see all the series collide and just see the ambiance or atmosphere of the whole place. It's just like no other.
Yeah, you kind of touched on my last question I had, because every time we have a modified driver on, I always ask them the same question on how we grow the sport of big block modifieds
Yeah,
outside of the Northeast. Obviously, it's big regionally, but there's no doubt that in dirt racing, sprint cars and late models are the most popular right now. And
for sure.
nice to see all three at the Charlotte World Finals. I feel like, I know Sean and I kind of joke around, we have the three different crowds, right? Where some people are watching the sprint cars, then they go to the bathroom or go get something to eat while the other cars are on.
Right.
What does it take to kind of grow the sport to where, everybody's just kind of all there to watch all three classes and doesn't really have a, favorite, and is just there to enjoy all three of them?
Right. Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's very good for our sport, especially in the Northeast. We're smaller than, the typical late model or sprint car, but I think it's great. Even like Super Dare Week, you get 100 small blocks and 80 big blocks. That's a lot of cars. You might not even see that for sprint cars at Eldora. So I think our sport is big in the Northeast, and I think us going to Georgetown and Port Royal and us just keep stretching down the states. I think. And Charlotte and Volusia, I think eventually it's going to grow to the whole East, and then hopefully it goes west and from there. I will say that I don't, I've had this debate, because my crew chief, he comes from the late model world and he thinks a late model is harder to drive, but everyone ask, says a modified is harder to drive. So I think it would be cool to maybe get these guys like Kyle Larson in a big block modified and just, see how he goes, because
Yeah.
I truly think they are one of the hardest cars to drive. So getting them all together at Charlotte is huge, and I think it'll definitely expand. And with Dirt Vision and Flow, it's just growing our sport rapidly.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Like, I've got the itch to go to a lot more big block races.
Yeah,
It's tough with the Super Dirt Car Series. It's a lot of midweek stuff, so it's hard
right.
for me. But I try to get to as many as I can. And I walk around the pits and I see guys like you and Felix and Alex Yankowski and Alex Payne and Dalton Slack. Like, and I know I'm going to be forgetting guys like Jack Lehner. Like, there's a ton
Yeah,
of young guys coming up, and
right.
it's so exciting to see
It
that the
is.
future really is bright for modified racing.
Yeah, no, it really is, and we all aspire to be someone, like I have a picture of me probably 10 years old in Victory Lane when my dad used to sponsor Matt Shepard, and I shared it to him the other day, and it's just crazy to think that I'm racing with one of the best guys out there now, and I grew up watching him. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, and like I said, I think it's definitely our sport is expanding rapidly with, young talented guys, and I think it makes the shows better, to see these guys like Payne and Yankowski,
Yeah.
going up through the field, and then they'll go past Williamson or Shepard, and you're like, holy shit, So, I think it's really good for our sport, and hopefully it just keeps growing like that. You see younger kids, even younger than us, 15-year-olds that are coming up through. So I think it's really good for our sport for sure.
And before Sean gets into our DJD gear rapid fire segment, obviously both of us are big merch guys.
Yeah.
Merchandise is really cool to support the drivers and get it signed. So if anybody's watching this and hasn't bought something from you, where can they go and find to get some?
Yeah, they can come right to me at any racetrack or find me on Facebook. Or I think we're going to have a trailer this year. So that'll go everywhere we go. And then also you can find us at mattcaprararacing.com.
Perfect, Matt. We thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been great chatting
No,
with
thank you
you.
guys. Yeah.
We could keep going for a while. Before we let you go, though, we do always end with our
Yeah.
JD Gear rapid fire segment. We got 10 questions for you. We just
Oh,
fire them
boy.
off and kind of get to know you a little bit away from the racetrack.
Okay.
So, without further ado, which track has the best food?
Best food, probably Fulton Speedway with chicken speedies.
Oh, okay. What's a track that you wish the big blocks raced at?
Um, Fulton Speedway.
What's so you've done some racing in some other cars. So if you had one opportunity to run any race car in any series, what's one race that you wish you could run?
Probably the Eldora Million.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Where are the best wings in Central or Northern New York?
Ooh. Um, Probably Duskies. It's in Phoenix, New York. It's this little joint, but the wings are insane.
All right, I'll have to look that one up because I travel through there quite a bit. What's the best wing flavor in your opinion?
I'm not a spice guy. I'm like wicked on so probably like sweet barbecue. I'm not a good spice guy.
All right. We won't judge you for that. That's fine. Best driver to party with.
Probably Matt Williamson,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's a good answer. Who's a driver that you do not want to see waiting for you at the end of the night?
Do not want to see waiting for you. Probably Danny Creedon. We
Okay.
got into it once, and it was like, I don't know if I want to see him at the end of the night.
All right. You were parked next to Felix at Brockville. Has he taught you any French?
No, I still haven't learned any French, but I think I'm helping him with his English. So
That's good. I know Jacob had a tough time understanding it, but he's not like us Northeast guys. We get to
yeah.
talk to French guys all the time. All right. What's the best thing to do in Charlotte when you're not at the racetrack?
Waltrip Brewing,
Yeah, that's
definitely for sure.
good spot. All right. And last one. You said you're a multi-sport guy. I got my Blue Jays gear on. We're getting ready for the World Series up here in a few days. Blue Jays or Dodgers? Who you got?
I don't know because I'm a Yankees fan and it really pissed me off that the Blue
Yeah,
Jays took him out.
I'm
But the
really,
Dodgers, I mean, I want the Blue Jays, but the Dodgers and Otani, I think the Dodgers take it, to be honest.
yeah, I'm leaning. I mean, Dodgers are probably going to win, but
Yeah.
hey, made it this far. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
One more bonus one because I know you're a Bills fan too, like me.
Huge.
What do they need to do to get back on track?
Their defense is terrible.
Yeah,
So whatever they can do, if they need to, break the bank and spend some money on some defensive guys, that's huge. But I'm tired of this drought, and it looks like the Chiefs are coming back to win. So hopefully they kick them in the dirt this year. So
yeah.
we're praying.
It's forever, used to say like Bills, Canucks, Blue Jays. I'm just a purgatory of non-winning
Yeah, I
teams. But
can't tell you the
at
Canucks. I'm a
least,
Sens fan, but
yeah, at least I've got one World Series as an adult under my belt. Uh,
right, right.
Matt, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Looking forward to seeing you at Charlotte, and
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for doing this, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, and can't wait to see you in Charlotte, man.